And now, for an amazing true story from the book of John, chapter 11, verses 1 through 44.
Mary and Martha lived with their brother Lazarus in the small town of Bethany, not far from Jerusalem. Jesus often stayed at their house, and they considered him a close friend, somebody that they could trust no matter what. One day, Lazarus became ill.
Martha, I can't breathe.
Quick, let's get you into bed.
Mary placed her hand on Lazarus's flushed forehead.
His skin is so hot, like there's a fire inside him. I think we should send a message to Jesus.
Martha considered for a moment as she watched her brother. His pulse was quick and shallow.
You're right. Surely he can save Lazarus. I'll find a messenger.
But Jesus had left Jerusalem because some enemies there had tried to kill him. So the messenger found Jesus far away, on the other side of the Jordan River.
Mary and Martha say to tell you, Lord, the one you love is sick.
Jesus' eyes were sad, but his voice was calm when he responded.
This sickness will not end in death. It's for God's glory. God's Son will receive glory because of it.
But even though he knew Lazarus was dying, Jesus stayed where he was for 2 whole days. Finally, he spoke to his friends.
Let's go back to Judea.
The disciples stared at him. Peter burst out,
You do remember that some of the Jews there tried to stone you to death? And you want to go back? Our friend Lazarus has fallen asleep. I'm going to wake him up.
Thomas exhaled, relieved.
Well, that's good. If he's sleeping, he'll get better.
But Jesus didn't mean that Lazarus was just taking a nap.
Lazarus is dead.
Peter's jaw dropped. The disciples were stunned.
For your sake, I'm glad I wasn't there. Now you will believe. But we need to go.
Wait, what about the people who want to kill you?
We'll all go and face them together. Then we can die with Jesus, if it comes to that.
No one wanted to back down after Thomas's show of bravery, so they all followed Jesus back across the Jordan River to Bethany. Even before they entered the village, sounds of mourning reached their ears. Many Jews gathered, crowding toward Mary and Martha's home. Peter pulled an elderly man aside.
What is it? What's going on?
Lazarus is dead. He's been lying in the tomb for 4 whole days.
The disciples stopped in their tracks. It would be impossible to save Lazarus now. Jesus had failed. But before they could speak, Martha raced toward them from the village, her eyes red from crying.
Lord, I wish you had been here. Then my brother would not have died. But I know that even now, God will give you anything you ask for.
Your brother will rise again.
I know that. When people are raised at the end of time.
Jesus smiled and looked directly into her eyes.
I am the resurrection and the life. Anyone who believes in me will live, even if he dies. And those who live and believe in me will never die. Do you believe this?
Yes, Lord. I believe you are the Christ, the Son of God.
Though Martha still didn't know what to expect, just speaking the truth made her more hopeful. She ran to find Mary.
Come, the teacher is here. He's asking for you.
Blinded by tears, Mary hurried out to meet Jesus. She flung herself down in the dust at his feet.
Lord, I wish you had been here. Then my brother would not have died.
Jesus saw Mary's broken heart and the sorrow of the family's friends. His own spirit was troubled.
Where have you put him?
Come and see, Lord.
Overcome by sadness, Jesus wept. The other mourners were surprised.
See how much he loved Lazarus.
He opened the eyes of a blind man. Couldn't he have kept Lazarus from dying if he'd hoofed it here a little faster?
Soon they arrived at the tomb. A heavy stone blocked the entrance to the cave where Lazarus's body lay.
Take away the stone.
Mary flinched, and Martha put a hand on her nose.
But Lord, it's been 4 days. There will be a terrible smell.
Didn't I tell you that if you believed, you would see God's glory?
No one could answer Jesus. So the strongest men got together and shoved the stone aside. The dark mouth of the cave yawned wide. But Jesus looked toward heaven.
Father, thank you for always hearing me. I say this for the benefit of everyone standing here, so they will believe you sent me.
For a long moment, no one seemed to breathe. Then Jesus called loudly,
Lazarus, come out.
How can he say that?
Everyone fixed their gazes on the mouth of the tomb. Deep within, something stirred. And then, impossibly, they saw movement in the gloom.
Is that? It is! It's Lazarus!
Their brother staggered toward them, still wrapped tightly in linen burial cloths that covered even his face.
He's alive!
Go ahead. Unwrap the burial cloths. Let him go.
Mary and Martha flew at their brother, pulling back the cloths, laughing and crying as they hugged him. The disciples watched the joyful scene in amazement. Now, they thought they had seen everything traveling with Jesus for the last few years, but when he raised Lazarus from the dead, Jesus proved that absolutely nothing is impossible for God.